Hey everyone, it's Snubtax here, and we're doing more Melty Blood for today's Wednesday stream. And as a friend in my PSA Discord server had asked, he said it would be kind of cool to go over Aoko's matchups. So we are going ahead and doing that today. This will be this will mainly be my opinions on stuff that can happen with the matchup and how I feel about the matchup. But if you see here, we have this window that I'm going to use to talk about the matchups. I think the matchups in this game are relatively balanced. So on the XY or on the Y slider, we have 6-4-4-6, which is basically a relative measure of how balanced I think the matchup is. And then we have a X slider, which will be for Aoko's game or their game, which basically means how annoying it feels like the matchup is to play, and whether or not it feels like the opponent has to play Aoko's game or Aoko has to play their game to really win the matchup. So with that out of the way, we will go ahead and get this started. After I check one more thing. Alright, I think the setup is good. Alright, so the first character we have is our favorite boyo, Tohno. I think this is a very balanced matchup. I think it's probably 5-5. The things I'll be looking for in the matchup is specifically how characters can answer beams, proxy orbs, and if they have answers that let them skip neutral and get directly into Aoko and cheese out interactions. So this is a pretty balanced matchup, I think. When Tohno gets in, it's hard for Aoko to really do anything, but Aoko can very easily play her own game and constantly force Tohno to be working hard to get in, especially when she just drops her negative edge orbs. If Tohno tries to run at you and you have negative edge orbs, you can basically run around the orbs and make him have to play around that. Like, thank you Teapot for the follow. Hello, hello. So, right. I am a variety streamer. I stream 2DX on Mondays. I don't know what I'm streaming on Wednesdays, but today it's Melty, I guess. More Melty on Fridays, and I try to stream Elden Ring on the weekends. So if you are interested in any... Oh, awesome. Yeah, I will definitely be down to play some more games after I talk about Aoko's matchup spread. But yeah, as I was saying, you get these orbs, and basically Tohno has to deal with them somehow, because if he runs at you, you can... Sure, gotcha. If he runs at you, you can just jump over him, right? And then he still has to deal with the orbs. And then, if he jumps at you, then you can run under him. And then he still has to deal with the orbs again. So, these negative edge orbs are always something he's going to have to deal with. And then if he jumps into the orbs and then starts defending because he wants to like shield the orbs or kind of just wait to see what you do, then you're free to steal your turn by running at him and throwing him. Or like running at him IADing. Or basically anything you want if he decides to respect your orb. And not only that, but if Tohno decides that he's going to play the waiting game and wait for you to do something, then you can just moon charge. Right? And Tohno might think, oh, okay, if Aoko is going to moon charge, then I'm going to moon charge. But then you just throw this out. And you just throw this out, cancel this into beam array, and then you get something, right? So for most of this matchup, the onus is on Tohno to get in. And so just for that alone, I think this is more of like Aoko's game where you can run your game plan and the opposing Tohno basically has to adjust to you. That being said, there are a few things Tohno has in his arsenal to kind of like skip Aoko's neutral. Probably the biggest example is his slide series. Like, this goes under orbs. Oh well. Yeah, as you can see, Tohno was basically underneath that orb until the end of the animation, and this is more apparent if I do 6 or 4 BC. Like, he'll go all the way under that proxy orb, so he can skip that part of neutral entirely if you are relying too much on your proxy orb. And because it's also pretty fast, like if you were trying to like bait something out, it can be pretty hard to like catch him with the orb on time. Even with stuff like negative edge orb, if he decides he's going to do EX Lariat, because that moves so fast, it can be pretty hard to catch him. So Tohno does have some very good tools he can use to get in spite of Aoko's negative edge orb nonsense. So overall, I think the matchup spread is pretty balanced, but I do think Aoko, the Tohno player, does have to do a little bit more adjustment for the matchup than Aoko has to do in response. So with all of that in mind, I would probably put Tohno at like right about here, where the matchup is more or less 5-5, but Tohno has to do a bit of adjustment to get around what Aoko can dish out. Also worth noting, I think Tohno's 2C does low profile, so oh, I guess not. Alright, he does not have that advantage, so Aoko also has that on him. Alright, let's move on to the next character on this list. Oh, it's Kouma. Yeah, Aoko blows up this matchup. Like, Kouma doesn't have any low profiling attacks, and he doesn't have very good movement. He has decent movement, but definitely not better movement than a lot of the rest of the cast. So if he wants to get in against Aoko, it's a huge struggle for him. So take everything I said and about Tohno and like multiply that by 1,000, and that's basically this matchup. Of course, when Kouma does get in, the matchup is very heavily skewed in his favor because Aoko's defensive options are poor. But boy, is that quest for Kouma to get in literally almost impossible. You can just play lame against Kouma all day and there's almost nothing you can do about it. The only thing you have to make sure of is to not go super aggressive against him, because then you'll be playing into his game where he will have a huge advantage. So like, don't really recommend trying too hard to jump in on him, because he has this button. Right, he has this button. Right, and this will totally blow Aoko up. And he has other very good tools to deal with Aoko if she decides that she's going to try to get in. But like, that's the thing, you don't try to get in, you just zone all day and deal with Kouma as he tries to approach you instead. And then this matchup becomes super polarizing against him. So with that said, I think this matchup for Kouma is pretty candidly 6-4 Aoko's favor, and Kouma has to basically deal with all of her crap. Alright, let's move on to the next matchup. So Noel is kind of interesting. I think this is pretty 5-5, and it's kind of either player's game, because she does have a projectile, and her projectile is quite good. There are a few things that you can do to cheese out some things you might want to do in neutral. Like, for example, at this spacing, you might be inclined to throw a beam. But she can blow that up by throwing her keys, because her keys move her back when she throws them, right? Yeah, there we go. Right. So that would have hit, but because she moved back, it whiffs, right? And if she gets that, to contact, then there we go. We'll set that as a reversal action. She gets that, and she can dash in for a full confirm, right? So there are a few things that Aoko basically needs to watch out for. Aoko can't brain dead zone because Noel has those projectiles she can throw out. But it's still a bit of a struggle for Noel because she has because Aoko has a 6 PC. So if we're at full screen, then Noel isn't in a position where she can throw keys, because I can just get plus frames and then do this. Right. Noel does have another big advantage against Aoko's zoning, and that is she has a diagonal key. So if I try to zone in neutral, then she can throw a key. And this medium, and that key is pretty slow, all things considered. But you can always do this instead, which is way faster. Right, and I'll have her double jump. Or better yet. There, that should work pretty well. Right, and that'll punish. And of course, off that, I'm pretty sure she can get a full confirm off that as well. Right, and then she just dashes in and does whatever her game plan is. So I think this matchup, in that sense, is incredibly balanced. I don't think she has any low profiling tools. So when it comes to negative edge orbs and proxy orbs, there's nothing to it but for her to try to get in the best she can, and use her own projectiles to like kind of deal with Aoko's orbs and hit her to make the orbs disappear instead of just trying to maneuver around them. But otherwise, I think this matchup is very much even. I would say this is a pretty typical 5-5 matchup. Alright, next matchup, we have Vlov. This matchup sucks for Aoko. I don't even know if I want to talk about this matchup again, because I've already gone over all of the things I hate about this matchup when I went over the beginner tournament VOD. I'm just gonna take Vlov, where are you? Take this and put this all the way down here. Oh my god, I think this matchup is so cursed, and I'm going to complain about it all day, and you can't stop me. So Vlov has fast projectiles. He has this. He has this. Right. And his projectiles are fast enough that we'll have Vlov do that. Like, so normally, if you are going to... Normally, if you think the opponent is going to throw out a projectile, you can just 6BC, and it'll pretty much always catch them. But you can't really do that as easily with Vlov, because his 2-2A and 2BC are so fast. If you think he's going to do that, but you just aren't quite fast enough, you will get hit for trying to preemptively 6BC them if you're too slow. So you have to be really on top of like anticipating when they're going to throw out the 2-2A or 2BC, or at least more on top of it than you would for other characters, right? It's not something that you can like... It's not something that you can anticipate it and then throw the 6BC after they've already done their move and catch them. It's something that you literally have to be like, okay, I know this Vlov wants to throw out a 2-2X move, so I'm going to 6BC and hit them with it. And because of that, Vlov gets access to this. This is a guaranteed punish. So if you are too fixated on trying to catch them, then they can shield you and then they get a guaranteed punish. And I know Akimi has posted in PSA a optimized combo confirm, so he can actually convert this into a full combo, and it's extremely painful for Aoko. Yeah. Same goes for if you want to try to set up negative edge zoning. Like if you are trying to set up negative edge orbs, Vlov can just say no to that and attempt to 2BCU on 2-2A or 2BCU on reaction. So it's really hard to find time to set up any of these negative edge orbs. And even if you wanted to, it kind of doesn't really matter, because at full screen, you're still at the spacing where Vlov wants to be, because he doesn't have to care about these negative edge orbs. He can just keep throwing projectiles at you. Especially when he has the health lead, right? Because if he has a health lead, then he can stay at full screen, throw projectiles, and then when he decides he doesn't feel like doing projectiles, he can do the thing that Aoko can do with, you know, me wanting to charge and then 6BC. But he can do that with charge. He can do that with charge and then 2-2A. Well, his 2-2A, right? So you charge 6BC. Vlov does that with with that. Or that. So, in terms of zoning, Vlov can play Aoko's game, but generally just a bit better. Which puts her into the situation where Aoko in general has to approach or get really good reads on 6BC or her medium beam to get her turn or win zoning. And oh, also worth mentioning, Vlov has the ability to like jump and throw diagonal fireballs, right? And his are a bit better than Noel's because they don't cost her and they don't cost him any resources. And I believe in ice, he gets a reasonable confirm and hard knockdown off it, but I'm not exactly sure. Someone would have to give me more information on that. Any characters that have downwards projectile basically make Aoko zoning life a lot harder. is all you really need to know about that. But anyway, let's talk back about Aoko trying to make her way in. So let's say you realize, okay, zoning against Vlov is not going to work because Vlov has a lot more options for zoning and just does it way better than she does. Well, your life is still miserable because for Aoko, if you're at full screen, that's not so bad because you can jump over fireballs, you can forward jump, and very easily make yourself get yourself to mid screen just by forward jumping and super jump with some IADs. It's once you're mid screen that this matchup becomes really cursed because at this range, Aoko has a hard time doing anything, but Vlov has a ton of things that he can do. He gets his overhead, and he gets his low. So you're putting yourself in a range where you instantly have to contend with that without having very many good options of your own. And let's say you're like, screw that, I'm going to try getting in from the air. Well, then you have to deal with this button. And as you can see, that button has way more range than anything Aoko can do. The only saving grace is that it has pretty slow startup, but if you're in the air and the Vlov is like anticipating that you're going to go for jump something, he can just preemptively jump JB, and if you're not ready for that, you're going to get fatal countered into a full combo. Cursed. This is so cursed. The one thing I will say is because Vlov's defensive options are so bad, when you finally do get in on him, he is very much out of luck because his only really viable reversal option is heat. And Aoko has plenty of ways to like play around that. So let's turn the reversals off. Like, if you're in a situation where you have negative edge orb here, like, there's not much you can do. You can just stand at this range. Oh my god. Shield off. You can just press buttons at this range. And then his one defensive option, like, isn't of heating or doing moon skill is a lot less good. Because if you just space yourself out here, then you have plenty of time to like clash his moon skill and respond with like a DP or your own moon drive or jump shield, etc. So that is your saving grace for this matchup. If you manage to get in, Vlov basically has to heat or commit to a moon skill, and it's basically your turn for forever because his defensive options are so poor. But good luck doing that, because playing the neutral against this character is, oh my god. Alright, I'm going to stop talking about Vlov. Next for the matchup is Roa. I think this matchup is pretty hard for Aoko. I think Roa players might tell you differently, but I think this matchup is kind of messed up. Roa has a lot of good buttons that let him skip neutral. Like, this one? Like if you're just a bit not tight enough with your beam cancel, it'll low profile. That 236A low profiles on frame 3. So Aoko can't frame trap with it. And normally the kind of mix you get is this into sweep or this into B. And if you're not quite as close, then you do. If you're pretty close, then you'll do your sweep because it catches low profiling moves. But if you do this and you're a little too far for sweep, then oh, I didn't know that clash, but that's good to know. But if you're not in range to sweep, then you have to go for the beam, right? And Roa can say, nope, I'm not interested in doing that, I'm just going to slide underneath you. And if Roa does that, then he gets, I think he gets, oops. Then I think he gets... And I think he gets... Right, and then he can convert that however he wants. I don't know how Roa does combos. And because of this one neutral cheating tool, I think Roa has a really good matchup against Aoko. He can skip orbs very easily, and he can even go with you can even go with 6BC to make that safe and get a hard knockup if you wanted to. So I think that tool alone makes it really hard for Aoko to play her game plan against him. And I think Roa players should use this tool more often against her because it is really good and blows up a lot of what she wants to do when it comes to zoning. Besides that, Roa still does have a few of the same problems to contend with. Like, if you set negative edge orbs, then Roa does have to play around that. Although he does have an easier time because, like I said, that 6BC will let him skip a lot of the risk of having to navigate the orbs. But he does have to navigate around them. And if Aoko knows that he's going for that, then she can always jump over, right? And by jumping over the orbs, Roa has just wasted some moon gauge, and he's still in a pretty precarious situation with respect to Aoko zoning. So I don't think it's that bad for Aoko. But Roa still definitely has some advantages over her in that respect. The other main thing that makes this matchup a little bit polarizing for Aoko is... where are you, Needle? That's not Needle. Needle. This is fucked up. Did you see that, guys? That's how far Aoko's finger gun reaches. That's how far Roa's finger gun reaches. So yeah, I hate that. Why does Roa get that? I don't understand. Roa has one more neutral skipping tool, which makes the matchup pretty difficult for Aoko, and that would be his Halo. This. So if Aoko tries to do anything like zoning related and she doesn't have Moondrive, then as Roa, you can just Roa can just do that. If Aoko doesn't have Moondrive, then she'll die for it. And she can't like DP either to get out of it. She's basically just screwed. So yeah, I think with all these things in mind, it's actually pretty difficult for Aoko to play against Roa. I think there are a lot of things that Roa can do to just cheese the things that Aoko wants to do and get in. And so that makes the matchup pretty difficult for her. So with all that in mind, I will go ahead and put Roa at like somewhere right here. I think that makes sense. Alright, on to the next matchup. Miyako. Howdy gamer. Hey, how are you doing? We are doing big fighting game discussion. Feel free to listen in if you want, but it may go over your head. But if you want to just stay and support my stream, I appreciate that too. Thank you for being here for me. I appreciate that. So this matchup, I'd say this matchup is pretty balanced. This definitely falls into kind of Aoko's game plan because Miyako has to work pretty hard to get in, but I'd say she's actually a bit... Thank you. I hope you do enjoy that. But she does have pretty good tools to help her do that, like... Miyako's mobility is fantastic. She can definitely get around the map really, really fast. And she can kind of navigate the screen with ease. And also, she does have a move that can punish you if you try to recklessly set out orbs, and that is her 22C. Right? So yeah, these are all things to consider. And just for that alone, Miyako has a bit of a better time getting in. I do think this matchup is still kind of Aoko's game plan to play, because even though Miyako has those tools, they're not quite as good as what Roa has, and she still needs to make that effort to get past the orbs and get in. And she has the added disadvantage of Miyako's JB, which is one of her better air buttons, doesn't beat air proxy orbs, because Miyako's hitbox extends before her hitbox extends before her hitbox becomes active, so she can't hit the proxy orb away with this button. So as Aoko, if you set air orbs and make people have to jump around them, Miyako isn't as good at dealing with that as some other characters are. So that is one very notable disadvantage that she has when dealing with this specific matchup. Once she gets in though, it's incredibly hard for Aoko because Aoko's defensive options are pretty bad. And Miyako can just do whatever the heck she wants to basically smash any of Aoko's options. That said, so this is kind of one of those matchups where the first player who gets the hit is basically probably going to win the round, because both characters have very polarizing set play, and whoever gets in first has to deal with that. But Aoko just has a slightly better time in getting in and creating that situation, because Miyako has to play around her as a zoner. So for this polarizing matchup, I would place Miyako like right around here. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. If anyone has any questions or their own opinions on these matchups, please feel free to talk about it, because this is an open discussion, and if anyone says anything that I haven't considered, then, you know, I might change my mind on some of these placements. But for now, let's move on to... Oh, also, Miyako's 2C does low profile, so let me change her reversal action to Crouch C. The only thing with it is that because it's pretty low range, she has some trouble actually like connecting with this. But it is good to like beat this, because this is a very standard block string that I use when I want to get a lot of plus frames. But and not everyone can easily deal with this without shielding on reaction, but players that have a good sweep that low profiles can deal with it very easily. And Miyako does have a sweep that low profiles, but because it has poor range, it won't always be able to catch Aoko trying to go for that setup, which puts you in a situation where you have to either block or shield it, or go for a more risky like mash, like that, or that. But yeah, Miyako's buttons also kind of hurts her when dealing with Aoko pressure, which is part of also what makes the set play really polarizing. Alright, I think that's everything I wanted to cover with Miyako, so let's move on to Hisui. This is pretty 50-50. I don't have too much to say on this matchup. Hisui has to work pretty hard to get in, but she does have a few tools that help, such as her... Like, she actually has a projectile. But unfortunately, to get like fast projectiles, it costs moon. So as usual, it's kind of like Hisui's job to like try to get in. But Hisui's pretty mobile, so she actually doesn't do too terrible of a job at this. And Hisui also has a charge C. And this can blow up proxy orbs. right? You can use that to skip proxy orbs. So Hisui has some good ways of so Hisui does have some pretty good ways of skipping the neutral in that respect. There isn't really too much to say about this matchup. Hisui doesn't have anything that can really low profile, and she doesn't have very good reversals either, except for Moon Skill 6 BC. So with that said, it's kind of like the Miyako matchup where both characters have very polarizing set play to deal with, and if you're not ready to deal with that set play, then whoever gets the knockdown first has a huge advantage. But I think in general it's a little more difficult for Hisui to get in than it is for Miyako. So I would say in that respect it's more of Aoko's game to play. And in fact, I think this matchup might be a little bit Aoko favored. So I will go ahead and put Hisui up here, because her tools for skipping the neutral are a little bit less good than Tohno or Miyako. Alright, let's go with Kohaku. So Kohaku's mobility is less good than Miyako, but she certainly does also have ways of skipping the neutral. I'd say this is also a relatively balanced 50-50 matchup, and similar to Hisui and Miyako, it's kind of like whoever gets the knockdown first wins. But Aoko actually has a few ways to cheat several of the things Kohaku likes to do on Wake Up, on her knockdown. So let's say Kohaku decides to do this. Oh, I had to turn the card off. Let's say she decides to do that, right? Yeah, Aoko can do that. And basically say, I don't care about your delay throw. And I think that alone puts a huge damper on Kohaku's Oki, because a big part of Kohaku's Oki is just her doing delay throw to make you want to mash. And if you can condition the Kohaku to not want to mash, or to not want to do the throw part of her mix, then it becomes much easier to shield the tree, because she's going to go for some sort of strike. Or alternatively, if she decides to go for some sort of strike, you can throw out your invincible reversal. So because of that alone, it can be very hard for Kohaku to actually play her game against Aoko, because Aoko has that way of cheating out mashes against her tree Oki, which is normally very devastating to try and deal with. However, Kohaku has something of her own up her sleeve, and that is her Crouch C. Oh my god, this move. So, yeah. Kohaku has a great way to kind of like deal with Aoko trying to do like very space neutral stuff against her, as well as answer certain block strings. And I think this low profile is on frame 1. Oh, never mind. But it's hard for me to get it. I think it low profiles sooner than some of the other sweeps that we've already seen. So Kohaku definitely has her ways to hold her own against Aoko, being her really good sweep, and her JC, which lets her skip, which allows her to skip proxy orbs. So I think this matchup is also pretty balanced, but Kohaku doesn't have any way to skip negative edge orb zoning, so she still kind of has to play Aoko's game, but I think it's a little bit better than Tohno or Hisui. So I would put this matchup somewhere around here, I think. And this is just a slightly Aoko favored just because Kohaku has to deal with Aoko's set play on knockdown, and her reversals are not that good. And personally, I think Aoko's set play is stronger than Kohaku's set play, but I am also terrible at dealing with Kohaku's set play, so I could be straight up talking shit. Warc. This matchup is pretty 50-50. Oh, actually, let me go back to Miyako, because there is something I wanted to talk about. One more thing I wanted to talk about. So I said earlier that Miyako's JB isn't that good in the air because it can't deal with proxy orbs, but it still is a cross-up normal, and Aoko is actually very bad at dealing with cross-up normals. Like, if Miyako is taking her turn in mid-screen and she decides to do this, Aoko doesn't have very good answers for that. That is a very difficult situation for Aoko to deal with, and I forgot to consider that. So with that in mind, I will move this matchup closer to the middle. I will distinguish these two apart. I'll actually move it a little more here. Yeah. Because I do plan on talking about that with some other characters as well. So Warc and Aoko have very similar neutrals. Warc has a very fast projectile in the form of Warc has a very fast projectile in the form of 4BC. It's definitely not faster than Aoko's 6BC, but I think it's fast enough that you have to be. It's kind of like Vlov's 22X, where you have to be very on top of your anticipation and read it early, or else Arcueid will hit you with this. And on hit, and I believe on hit, Well, I can't do Warc things, but you know, she can confirm that. And right, yeah. So that's something to consider. Because of that, at least the projectile portion of this neutral is pretty straightforward. Arcueid also has ways to cheese the negative edge orbs. And because of that, she does have ways to nullify the advantage Aoko gets from using her negative edge orbs. But Warc does have to play pretty well in order to get that to happen. Still, I think these tools are powerful enough that it kind of nullifies Aoko's advantages pretty well enough. Things that Aoko has to deal with in this matchup is if Aoko tries to play the air-to-air game because she doesn't want to deal with these. Because she doesn't want to deal with these or that, then oh right, Warc also has this. So if Aoko is spamming beams, like Warc can either do this or that, right? And that's also something that Aoko has to deal with. What else? Yeah, so if Aoko decides to jump to not have to deal with ground projectile pressure, then she has to kind of contend with this 5-frame JB with really fantastic range. And let's say Aoko jumps forward and she blocks this. Then Warc can get an unblockable off it. Because Warc's 5A hits so high. Right. So I think Warc is a character that can force Aoko to approach, and because of that, Aoko actually does in certain situations have to play her game a bit, because if Warc gets a life lead, she is a character that can kind of back off and be like, I'm just going to charge until you decide to do something, right? I think her JB also low profiles, so let me see. Or 2B, I should say. So, stand. Oh, it doesn't low profile, huh? That surprises me. I figured it would low profile. How about 2C? Alright, so I guess Warc doesn't have that advantage. That surprises me. Also something Aoko has to deal with is if Aoko doesn't have the life lead and she wants to run at Warc, that's pretty hard too because up back 5B and 9C and 9BC. These things make it very hard for Aoko to get into neutral. And because Warc has a downwards projectile, she can super jump if she tries to beam. I've already mentioned that though. So with all of that said, I think this is a pretty 50-50 matchup, but I think Aoko kind of has to play Warc's game if she wants to win this matchup. Actually, I think this matchup might be imbalanced towards Aoko a little bit. Against Aoko a little bit. I'm gonna move Roa further down and Warc down a bit. Alright, so we're going to talk about Saber. Saber has some neutral skipping tools. Charge dash that can clash warps. A really good JC. And a pretty good JB too. People meme about this move, but it's really good. And similar to Miyako and Vlov, her Oki pressure revolves more so around safe jump pressure than other characters, and Aoko is very bad at dealing with safe jumps because her only reversal is Aoko's only reversals are 2BC or a metered reversal, and because Aoko doesn't have a meterless reversal, if the opponent decides to go for a safe jump setup, they have a lot more time to react to this flash and like shield or block or do whatever they were planning to do about it. Which isn't to say that safe jumps don't also blow up meterless reversals, because they do, but it's just easier because Aoko has to spend meter to do it. So I feel like for Aoko, dealing with Saber's offense can be pretty difficult. Hey Alex. Thank you for hopping into the stream. I am the Tactics, a variety streamer. Today I am streaming Multi-Flood, but I will be streaming 2DX on Mondays. And more 2DX, more Multi on Fridays, and probably some Elden Ring on the weekend. So if you're interested in any of that, please come back on those days. I think my schedule is in the About section, so you can check that too if you want. Alrighty, what else worth noting? Oh, right. Aha! Saber has this move! And because of this one move alone, this stuffs a lot of the things that Aoko might want to do. I saw you play against Kage a few weeks ago. Oh, did you now? Who plays Street Fighter anymore? Couldn't be me. But like, yeah, Aoko drops an orb here. If Saber really wanted to, oh. Whoa! Excalibur! So, yeah, that's something you have to be aware of. Saber can do that, and it hurts a lot, and it gives Saber her turn. So, yeah. All of that aside, Saber's mobility is kind of average, and she suffers from a lot of the same problems that the other characters do when they had to get it for trying to deal with Aoko zoning. But Avalon alone makes that a lot more manageable. So, and she has some pretty long-range counter pokes to deal with Aoko's like spaced offense. And so with that in mind, I think this matchup is pretty balanced. I will put this in like the trifecta of balanced matchups. Alright, next character to talk about. Dan. This matchup sucks. This matchup is terrible for Aoko. It might even be worse than Vlov. Actually, no, I don't think it's worse than Vlov, but it's still pretty bad. Aoko can't fire beams at Dan because DA Noel has this. If you decide you're going to throw a fireball, she can do this. This move makes the matchup for Aoko so hard. And she also has a pretty fast 6BC. Again, not faster than Aoko's EX beam, but it's still pretty fast and definitely a lot safer. So, again, she's one of those characters where if she has the life lead, she can choose to stop playing aggression and just jump back. And Aoko has to find a way to get in, and it's really hard for Aoko to get in. And also, she has a cross-up. She has a cross-up normal that Aoko has to deal with somehow because she's bad at dealing with it. And very good long-range poke tools. So yeah, Dan has a lot of tools that are very difficult for Aoko to deal with in general. And she has a cross protection break, which is pretty good against Aoko. Well, it's good against everyone, but it's particularly good against Aoko because she has fewer defensive options. I think Dan doesn't have a low profile, but she does kind of have a way to skip negative edge zoning. Although this isn't that good. It is something that she can do though. Yeah. So if Aoko has a life lead, then Dan does kind of have to play into Aoko's zoning, but she can get around that by jumping and throwing projectiles. So in the end, even when Aoko has a life lead, she still can't really just zone forever because Dan will just throw projectiles. And with all of those things in mind, I feel like this matchup is very difficult for Aoko, and I would put this in I would put this somewhere over here because I don't think this matchup is quite as hard for Aoko, but it definitely feels like Aoko has to put in a lot of work to win the matchup. Alright, who is the next character? Aoko! Yeah. I'm gonna put this matchup here. And the reason I'm not putting this in the middle is specifically because the way Aoko's zoning works, and especially her 6BC, makes this matchup basically feel like whoever gets the hit first basically wins the match. Because Aoko's reversals are poor, and 6BC can swing the match in an instant. Like if Aoko is trying to throw out beams. Oh, no way! Mix, thank you so much for the raid. We're talking about Aoko matchups right now. So if you see here, I have this tier list set up, but it's more of a graph. And the further you are towards the top, the more the matchup is in Aoko's favor to win. I think the matchups are pretty balanced, so it's either 6-4 or 4-6 at worst. And then on the left-right, it's kind of like how polarizing the matchup is to play. And if it's on the left, then the opponent has to play around Aoko, and if it's more to the right, then Aoko has to play around them in order to get the win. So we went over all of these characters so far, and feel free to leave your comments if you disagree or have any concerns with my placements. But anyway, we're talking about the Aoko v Aoko, and I didn't put this in the middle because this matchup basically feels like whoever gets the first hit wins. Oh, thank you for all the follows. Y'all easy, Fartbath, Bongo, thank you for your follows. Aoko v Aoko is 4-6 at least. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, the reason I have this set as Aoko's game is whoever basically... Cowie on Twitch, thank you for your follow. Whoever gets the first hit with the 6BC or with the beam hit basically wins the game because of Aoko's poor reversals. And in that sense, this matchup can feel very polarizing even though it's just a mirror, because at least 60 to 80% of the time, you're kind of gambling on who's going to get the first hit to win the game. A lot more so than other matchups where it can feel like you've outplayed someone when you play your character better than the opponent. This matchup can just kind of feel like, oh, I 6BC'd and you were pressing a button, so I get this. I run in, I set a negative edge orb, now I'm winning the game and you're dying. So yeah, that's why the Aoko v Aoko matchup is not in the middle. PCL. Kouma is in the right position, meaning this tier list is a truther list. I'm actually not knowledgeable and uncultured, so I don't even know what the word truther means. I just know a lot of people put it on their profiles. I think this matchup is pretty hard for Aoko. Like, if Aoko wants to do if Aoko decides she's going to do rebeat pressure, PCL can answer that with 5C. This move is really good, it has a ton of range. And it's a great combo starter, so if you try to get her, she'll just hit you and then she'll start her really strong combos, right? Oh, is that so? I appreciate that. PCL doesn't have great ways of skipping the neutral, but she does have really good buttons. Because, like, say you have negative edge orb set, PCL can't exactly, like, go over them, but she can do this. And if this touches, then the orbs will disappear, right? And it's kind of at the spacing where if Aoko... Let me reverse this. So if Aoko, like... I'll hold this for like 5 seconds. Like, she can get herself right in that spacing between the two orbs, where they would make contact. And I don't know if this is the case, but I think PCL's JC has clash frames. So because of that, she can use this move to get long-range trades, where even if Aoko pops the orb and he makes a trade, Aoko can't actually like punish that. Although I could be lying. Let me switch this back and start dummy recording. Yeah, it's really hard for Aoko to get confirms off that. Even if like Aoko blocks. You have to be really on top of your game to get like a very solid confirm. Especially if this hits like towards max range. So yeah, that JC is polarizing. It's a polarizing button for everyone, but it kind of messes with the things that Aoko wants to do, and it makes it so that even if Aoko, that if the PCL is facing herself really well, then she can quote-unquote safely attempt to get in with JC, and even if it gets blocked and she gets punished with an orb pop, Aoko doesn't have much that she can do to actually punish further besides just getting the orb hit. And that alone kind of messes with the negative edge orb zoning a lot, in my opinion. But besides that, PCL doesn't have anything particularly remarkable in terms of like getting in on Aoko, besides the JC, which is really good. She does have her dive kick, which is strong. And it also conveniently kind of puts her at that. How do you do the... There we go. She does have, yeah, she has this button, which kind of floats her a bit, and does a really good job at, J3B, yeah, thank you. Also, welcome Meta Hodos for your, for joining me on stream. So yeah, Aoko can like fatal this, but it's a little tricky. You need to be fast about it, otherwise you'll get fataled. And if you get hit by that button, then it starts her combos, right? So it can be pretty difficult to deal with. If I'm not mistaken, it also has a bit of a cross-up hitbox. I think it does, but I'm doing it too high. Okay, maybe it doesn't have a oh no, it does. Yeah, it definitely has a cross-up hitbox. So yeah, if PCL gets near you, then she has great tools for starting her pressure that Aoko has a lot of trouble dealing with. And on top of that, when she does get a knockdown, she has really... PCL has very nice, like, long-range pressure. Long-range safe jump. Right, and she can set up that, and she can set up that safe jump from basically most of her knockdowns. And Aoko doesn't have any, and Aoko can't really deal with that very well because, you know, she shielded Thistle Whiff, etc, etc. And that's an advantage PCL has against everyone, but I feel like it's particularly bad on Aoko because Aoko's reversals aren't very good. So this matchup I would say like is kind of close to 50-50. I personally have a very hard time playing this matchup though. So since this is my tier list, I'm going to put this matchup like somewhere around here because I'm very bad at it. Alright, next MU. Mario. Yeah? Is something the matter, Bongo? Do you disagree? If you disagree, can PCL's 236C skip neutral against Aoko? It might be able to. Let me check. Yeah, it can. Like, it totally armored that hit. Like, Aoko can answer it, but it's hard. Although on the other hand, yeah, Aoko can punish it, but it's very hard because Aoko has to get that ore pop before the second hit. Oh jeez. Okay, she can get that at least. Okay, Aoko can punish this, but I think you'd have to be an actual god in order to punish that setup consistently. The best you're going to be able to do on average is that. Which, like, I mean, I guess it's winning for Aoko because, well, it's technically, yeah, it's technically winning for Aoko because Aoko gets damage. But realistically, it's losing pretty hard because you have to consider that in exchange for that damage, Aoko loses all of the negative edge orbs she placed, and the new spacing after this interaction is like pretty decent in PCL's favor. I'm pretty sure PCL is plus in this situation, and because of that, if Aoko can't really go for 6BC because PCL can just super jump, and Aoko is also too far to throw out her light finger gun, and she's definitely way too slow to throw out medium beam. So PCL is free to either forward jump or super jump at her, and Aoko can't really do anything in this situation. So Aoko gets some damage, but this situation definitely seems like one where PCL is winning for sure. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm going to move this lower. I don't think PCL is harder than Roa. Stop it! Stop doing buttons. I know I did a recording, but you're not supposed to do the recording. Okay, I think this is a somewhat 50-50 matchup, but I also think this matchup is heavily polarized against Aoko. Yeah, we're gonna take Mario and put him right here, because Mario is a very polarizing character and he makes everyone have to play around them. Like, oh. I hate this. Why is this a thing? Yeah. Mario can't skip Aoko's neutral, but the things that Mario can do to deal with Aoko's beam zoning is really, really strong. And if Mario gets out nuns on Aoko before Aoko can react on time with her 6BC, then it's very hard for Aoko to do anything. With that being said, dealing with that isn't too terrible, but it can be pretty tough. And if Aoko is wrong on the guess, I'm pretty sure Mario is one of the characters that can just straight up punish it. So downplay Akiha, please. Guys, Akiha has a terrible matchup against Aoko. Like, Aoko wins that shit. Anyway. Oh, okay. Mario cannot hard punish. That actually surprised me because I thought that he could punish this on block. However, he can do this. Oh well. He can't do that. Right. And like and with medium beam, force her to spend resources to make the trade. I wonder if no. But yeah, because Mario can do that, he can also blow up Aoko's attempts to zone, or at least force her to spend resources in response to it. And with that in mind, Mario has ways to like kind of blow up half of the things that Aoko wants to do. And if Aoko decides that she is not going to have that and going to just jump in the air instead to not deal with ground stuff, then Mario gets to do this. He can Spider-Man as much as he wants. He can Spider-Man as much as he wants and destroy you for it. On the bright side, you can block that if you're not IADing. So at the very least, yeah, so at the very least, if you jump, you can block it. But, you know, it can be pretty hard to find an answer for that. So Mario has ways to deal with Aoko on the ground, and he has ways to deal with her in the air. And because Mario does have very good... Could I 2BC that? Yes. But Mario doesn't need to... use the 2BC version, right? If he has a read, he can just do a very non-committal... that. Hey Ori. We've already covered most of the matchups. We're on Mario right now, and I'm talking about how difficult this matchup is for Aoko. So yeah, I think Mario is capable of skipping most of Aoko's zoning. So it's a matchup that Aoko really needs to play. She needs to try really hard and play Mario's game if she wants to win the matchup. That being said, if the two are very close up, I think Mario's buttons are not that good. So she has an easier time like getting buttons in and starting her pressure on Mario. At least she has a better time doing so than Mario has doing to her. And Mario's reversals are not that good. So if she gets in, it's basically she's free to do what she wants. But Mario is the same way. If Mario gets a hard knockdown, his set play is very insane, and she has very little to deal with that, except maybe like attempting to throw out a reversal. And she can't throw out a reversal, because if she does that, and Mario throws charge none, then she will do a reversal, and maybe she'll hit Mario, and then she'll take an axe to the face and get knocked down for it. So I might actually go ahead and say that matchup is like down here, I guess. But I still think the Mario matchup for Aoko is easier than DA Noel. (623C) is very reliable. Maybe. Alright. Arcueid. This matchup is 50-50. I would probably put it in the same spot that I would put Hisui. Because she's kind of similar in that they both have really good set play. And, but Arcueid needs to find a way to skip Aoko's neutral. And Arcueid does have some pretty good ways to do that. Like, elbow? Elbow is really good at skipping neutral. And I believe if she hits this meaty, she's plus? Question mark? Do we have any Aoko players, or not Aoko, do we have any Arcueid players in the chat that can confirm if this is plus on meaty hit. Yeah. But regardless, Arcueid's pretty decent at skipping Aoko neutral. And both their set plays are pretty strong. So I'd say this is a pretty balanced matchup. If it's based the tip ranges plus. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, overall I think this matchup is pretty balanced. Arcueid kind of has to play around zoning, but she can also skip it in a certain ways. But do keep in mind that like if Arcueid does this and Aoko knows that she's going to go for that with negative edge warps in play, then Aoko can just super jump and like dash past her. So that is a thing. I don't think Arcueid has any low profiling moves, so there's that to keep in mind. She does have good charge moves though for her offense, which makes it difficult, which can make it difficult for Aoko to run some parts of her reversal defense, like 2BC, which is a very common moon reversal, or like an anti-repeat button. Sort of. Like, Arcueid can blow that up. She can deny that completely. Right. Yeah. Give Shiki 5C armor, imagine. Wait, what? Yeah, did you know that clash frames will beat reversals too? Funny enough, Warc can't do this with clash frames because Warc has armor. Where is Red Arcueid? Warc has armor and not clash frames. And reversals will always beat, or EX moves will always beat armor. See that armor break? Anyway, back to regular arc. So I think overall, the arc matchup is kind of hard for Arcueid to get in. She has to work and deal with Aoko's stuff to get in. But I think once she gets in, she has set play stuff that shuts down a lot of what Aoko... She has set play stuff to deal with what Aoko wants to do with her reversals, for her reversals better than other characters do. So I think that alone makes it kind of hard for Aoko to deal with her once Arcueid finally does get in. So I would actually put this matchup as a matchup that Arcueid needs to play Aoko's game to get in, but once she does, the matchup is fairly candidly in her favor. So I will put her somewhere around here. Alright, only three more characters because I placed Akiha, but not really. Ciel. I think Ciel is a pretty balanced matchup. Ciel has very good movement. she can't necessarily skip neutral, but she has ways to punish things that Aoko wants to do. Like, let me reverse the characters. So let's say Aoko has set up some beams, or set up some orbs. And then she's trying to zone the beams. She can punish beam attempts at full screen, and at certain timings, I know for certain that there is a timing where Ciel can counter Moondrive. Why is it so hard? I haven't actually rated Akiha yet. I just put her up there because GX1000 wanted me to. Alright, I can't get it, but I know it's possible for Ciel to skip neutral with a double Moondrive. But anyway, I will show something else. That's a true punish. Vanish Blade, hello. Welcome to the stream. We are reviewing a few more characters on this tier list, and then I'll probably rate out afterwards because I didn't realize it's already almost been 2 hours. So she can skip neutral and Aoko pressure that way. God, EX Halo is such a good move. But besides that, if she doesn't have any meter, she does have to get in like everyone else, though she does have the advantage of having her own projectiles that are also pretty fast. And like, if Ciel hits with her projectile first, then she wins the zoning war, because she can just perpetually throw keys. And then Aoko has the shield. And she also can sort of deal with Aoko like firing beams by jumping and throwing keys. So if Aoko throws medium beam, Ciel can do that. Senpai, thank you for your follow. So yeah, Ciel has a few answers to deal with like Aoko's basic zoning, but in terms of negative edge orb, she only has her mobility, which is very good, by the way. Her mobility is great. She can only rely on her mobility and her EX Halo to fall back on skipping Aoko's negative edge orbs. And in order for her to use EX Halo, she needs to catch Aoko doing something unsafe. And if the Aoko is playing correctly, that can sometimes be pretty hard to do. That said, Ciel does have a few advantages. She has a low profile in 2C. So let's go ahead and switch the characters back. And we'll set Ciel's reversal action to 5C. This will trade at worst. Or if I try to do a block string that ends with medium beam, she can sweep that. And granted, I've said this before, but like, this is already a big gap that most moves can punish. But having a move that low profiles makes it so much easier because it's a lot less risky to attempt it, right? It's the difference between having like 10 frames to punish it to like 15 or something. And that alone can make a difference in how you want to challenge certain Aoko actions. Additionally, when she gets in, she has good ways of applying pressure. Like, Aoko has a really hard time dealing with this because Ciel can just stand at the edge of the range of Aoko's beam and just do this all day. And Aoko has to shield it. But if Aoko tries to shield it, then it opens up Ciel's strike mix. What other advantages does Ciel have over Aoko? She has a cross-up aerial. And Aoko is very bad at anti-airing, so... Or, she's very bad at anti-airing at this spacing, so... So if Ciel gets on top of you, Aoko is basically like, well, crap. So Ciel has some really good set play on Aoko if she does manage to get in. So with all these things combined, I would say this is a fairly 50-50 matchup. But if Ciel gets in, Aoko can have a pretty difficult time. So I'm gonna put the Ciel matchup somewhere around here. This feels right to me. Alright, so now we are actually reviewing Akiha. Akiha doesn't have any meaningful ways to skip neutral. I'll upload the VOD to YouTube if you want, and then you can check it out. So Akiha doesn't have any meaningful ways to skip neutral, and she doesn't have great projectiles. So because of that, she is entirely forced to play Aoko's zoning game, while also not having the best mobility in the game. So in terms of whether or not she has to play Aoko's game or the other way around, it's kind of largely in Aoko's favor, where Akiha has to play around her. In terms of the matchup though, Akiha has pretty good set play in my opinion, and she has a lot of setups where if Aoko tries to do a reversal, Akiha can blow that up. Like, if Akiha throws and then wakes up with wheel, I'm pretty sure Akiha can just jump cancel shield that. Although the Akiha players online can tell me if I'm wrong. But yeah, Akiha has some very good mixes, although I am not a very good Akiha player, so I can't really show them off. And she has pretty decent set play against Aoko. Like the other characters, she also has a cross subnormal, a very good JA, and a very good air-to-air confirm. So if Aoko tries to be in the air, as Aokos are wont to do, Akiha is one of the better characters at challenging that. Probably only rivaled by Vlov, Arcueid, and Warc. And because of that, I think Akiha has a few decent neutral advantages on her, but she still definitely has to play Aoko's game if she wants to get in. So I would say that this matchup is pretty 50-50, because Akiha is pretty good at abusing the weaknesses in Aoko's defense. And in turn, Aoko is also pretty good at doing the same to Akiha if Aoko gets in. But like, Akiha also has like this button, these two buttons, and this. So if Aoko is trying to be a little bitch and jump all around the stage on you, Akiha is very good at denying that. So she has a lot of like very niche strengths that she can use to exploit the things that Aokos like to do. So in fact, I might move this a little closer to here, because she does have some pretty good answers. In fact, I'll move Tohno over here, and I'll move Akiha over here. So yeah, I think this is a pretty balanced matchup. Now there's one more matchup to cover, and that is dual Maids. I think this matchup is pretty hard for Aoko, because you get all of the benefit of Kohaku's buttons, like for example, you get all the advantage of Kohaku's buttons, which in... Oh, no worry, Hidden. Thank you for showing up though, I appreciate that. So let's set the reversal action to Crouch C. With this insanely god tier sweep. But then you also have the added benefit of maid combo tech with dual maids, because this is insane. Aoko is so terrible at dealing with this because unlike other characters, like that tree will stay active even if this sweep should be its own character. Yes. If this sweep was its own character, it would be like all the way over here in a 3-7 territory. But yeah, this matchup, there are some really oppressive set play that dual maids can do that Aoko has just a very difficult time dealing with. And they also have better ways to cheat zoning. Like, so for example, let's switch back. Aoko can do that, or Kohaku can do that. As long as Hisui is in the position where she is ready to strike, her hitbox then takes precedent over Kohaku's. So she can actually soak up 6 BC and make you waste meter for thinking you got a hit. So there's a lot of like really unique jank things that dual maids can do to kind of like ruin Aoko's day. And because of that, this matchup can be pretty hard for Aoko at times. But the main problem still exists for the maids because they had to find a way to get in on Aoko unless they're really good at cheating the neutral by doing maid summons. And they can only get an advantage once they finally get in and get to run their oppressive set play. But at the same time, dual maids also has the same problem as single maids where they don't have very good answers to Aoko's set play. So I would put dual maids like somewhere kind of close to the middle. But I think their set play against Aoko is a little stronger than Aoko's set play against them. So I put them right about here. And yeah, this concludes my tier list for the Aoko matchup spread.